Hello, my name is Steve Hermann, and I'm the author of Mediumship Mastery, the Ultimate Guide. This is my book on mediumship training, mediumship development. It's available on Amazon, and the whole purpose of my YouTube channel is mediumship training and mediumship development. So if you're a student medium, whether you're completely novice or you've been doing this for decades as a professional, you're really involved with mediumship, well, you're always going to be a student, aren't you? You're always going to be able to stretch and expand upon your abilities and strengthen the connection with the world of the spirit. So, how do we improve our mediumship? We have to work at it all the time. So the question I have to ask you, those of you who are involved as mediums, and if you're at the stage where you're receiving communications, whether you're very new at this, or maybe you've even been doing it for years, decades, you think you know it all. Do you receive vague, generalized messages? How many of you out there watching this receive vague or generalized messages that could apply to a lot of people? Now, this is a problem for a lot of mediums. It's very much a problem. And sometimes mediums, they just get bent out of shape. I want to be able to receive phone numbers. I want to be able to receive ATM numbers. I want to be able to receive license plate numbers, first names, last names, street addresses. I want to be able to describe the spirit communicators so specifically and detailed that beyond a shadow of a doubt, the recipient's going to know exactly who you're talking with in most cases. Isn't that what you want as a medium? I hope so. That doesn't mean you're not going to get vague information, but why are you getting vague information? Of course, we know that sometimes information has to be, not just sometimes, but quite a bit of the time, especially if we're dealing with thought pictures, with clairvoyance, symbology, information has to be conveyed in a round and about way. And sometimes when information is conveyed that way, it's a bit incomplete. Sometimes the conditions aren't that strong, the vibrations aren't that harmonious, and the medium's working maybe with people who just are not the best vibrations to work with. And yeah, they have a strong connection with the spirit world, but the spirit world, they have to work with our energy and the energy of whoever we're working with. And our energy can be pretty high and pretty tuned in, but that's not always going to be the case with either an individual or a whole group that we might be working with. So how do we work around this? Well, I know in a lot of the training I do with my students, I have a lot of exercises. I mean, I'll work them to death, pardon the pun, in a good way, in a fun way. Because mediumship training should be fun. It's not one of these things where we want to be uptight and rigid. We want to be serious and with reverence, yes, but we want to have a good time. But we'll work with things, and I'll have my students working, and the spirit people will give them, the ATM number on their card, right? Their ATM card, the number of it, or the password, or their credit card number, their phone number of the deceased individual coming through from the spirit world. They're not really deceased. Actually, they're usually more alive than people here. Their street address, their first and last name, things like this. You can get information like that. You can be very, very, very specific. Now, it's not always necessary to be that specific. It really depends on what they have prioritized in terms of the content of the session. But as mediums, what can we do? Well, our minds can be receptive, our minds can be attuned, and we can certainly, and this is a lot of times what I do with my groups, is I train them to receive certain types of information, maybe exclusively just through certain phases of mediumship. We focus on clairsentience, receiving information that way. Or we focus on receiving information with the clairaudience or visually. So just as I'm talking right now in this video, you can just imagine if for whatever reason I lost, there's no audio, and you could see me, I'm talking, you can see my mouth move, but you can't hear what I'm saying, you just see me moving. How would I visually be able to convey information to you? I'd have to do a lot of roundabout ways of doing it, maybe using symbology, using analogy, this type of thing. So there's limitations. Actually, with any of the modes, visual, feeling, hearing, all of those approaches, smelling, tasting, knowing, they're limitations. There's strengths and there's limitations. But I'll tell you, if you want to get specific, detailed information, obviously you have to ask for it, but you have to make your mind open, and you have to believe in yourself, have conviction that the spirit world will provide that type of information to you. The best thing you can do, the best practice, is strengthen your connection with the spirit world. Strengthen your connection with the spirit world. How do you do that? Sit in the power. Meditate. Go very, 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 very deep. And allow your spirit teachers, spirit operators, those helpers who assist you, let them blend with you. Open your energy field up. Raise your vibration. Dissociate from your physical body. Get out of the way and just connect to that strong power, that massive light and vibration of those in the world of the spirit. And really just work on strengthening your connection with them. Now, you're going to get some vague information, I can guarantee you. You will get vague information for a lot of different reasons. But if you have a strong connection, it's just like a cell phone. I've got my cell phone, my iPhone 8 right here. Apple hasn't paid me to do an ad for this, but it's good. But if I took it in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, somewhere out in the mountains or the desert, I may not get a very good connection with it. Isn't this true? And, we have that happen. Sometimes, we're talking on our cell phone, and it's choppy. Sometimes it's just not strong, or we hear the person, but it's indistinct or it's garbled. Mediumship's the same way. You can't always control that, but you can control your own vibration as a medium. You have to daily do things that build up your energy. Meditation, prayer, chanting mantras is a real big thing. Sitting in the power, strengthen your attunement and your connection. And yes, you're going to have times where it's not so good. There's going to be a tendency for the connections to be weaker than they could be, less than ideal. And the information may end up being a bit vague at times. But that generalized information, when you're a novice, that's how they train you. It's a foundation, like learning your alphabet. As you progress, they'll give you more sophisticated information. They'll give you very, very detailed information that beyond a shadow of a doubt will convince the most adamant skeptic, some can be complete atheist, completely analytically oriented, think that mediumship is a bunch of bunk. Anyone into it must be really just not very intelligent, deluded. Work on your mediumship. And if you get some generalized information, don't give yourself a hard time about it. Sometimes it's going to be this way. It's a learning experience. Ask for more. And sometimes that's what they want to communicate. They want to give something that seems a bit generalized because that's what the individual needs to hear. Especially if you start getting into guidance or you start getting into generalized type of advice. It's just like if I was a drug rehab counselor for alcohol or drugs, I'd probably tell people the same thing. Every person I worked with, a lot of the same advice. If I did relationship counseling, marriage counseling, same thing. A lot of people, same basic advice. That same principle applies when the spirit world, the higher spirits bring through guidance for people. So I want to encourage you, work on your mediumship, strengthen your connection. That's the most important thing you can do. And if you have questions, please, ask me. Get in touch with me. I teach a lot of in-person as well as online courses, all different aspects of mediumship. I do individualized mentoring. I've got my book, Mediumship Mastery, of course. And please subscribe if you like this. And please comment below. Thank you so much, and may God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for watching this.